Let's now talk about color. Color is everywhere. It comes in every shade you could think of, does it not? That's what color actually is. Every shade you could think of. And Photoshop will work with millions and millions of different colors. Photoshop works with colors, whether it's going to be print or it's going to be in the web. Okay, and you will see that we can save our colors. We can work with gradients. And you can see we can do so much with our colors in terms of the hue, the saturation, the brightness, all kinds of good stuff here. So if you'll notice here in the lower left, I have these little squares. They're going to allow me to then pick my colors. So I can go ahead and double click on that and choose whatever color I want. And remember, I can change my RGB value. That's going to be good for what? For working with the web, something on screen, and I also have my CMYK, and that's going to be for print. Okay, and you'll notice I can very easily change this, and notice that's going to go up and down like that. You'll also see there's a hexadecimal values. Okay, sometimes your designer will give you hexadecimal values and say, well, this is what we're working with, and you can just type that in, or you can type in your RGB values, just like that, your CMYK values, and it'll change accordingly. Okay, you'll also notice that there's this really great feature to add to swatches. So if I love this color, I can very easily add this to my swatches and then save it for later on, and it will always be there. So I'm going to click on that. And then right away, it says, okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to call this Dave's Blue. Okay. Do you want to add this to your current library? We're not talking about that in this class, but just know that this is going to save it to your Creative Cloud library. I'm going to uncheck that, but this is going to allow you to actually save it with other people, and you can also open it when you're going into another document, and you can also see it from document to document and also from program to program, saving it in the cloud. I'm going to click OK. And now it takes me right back to this. We're going to go to our swatches in just a little bit. Okay, but now I'm good to go. I click OK. And now I'm ready to start just drawing some things out. So that's great. Super easy. Now I have that there. You'll notice now how my properties panel now changes, giving me the option to then change my color based off of whatever I want. You'll notice here is a color picker again. I can choose it to that. Click OK. Super easy. Notice there's also some recently used colors. There's also some other colors that are preset swatches. Again, swatch is a saved color. And I can just bam, apply it, and I'm good to go. Okay, very good. Let's choose something that's not so hard on your eyes. Fantastic. That is colors in a nutshell. Now let's just at least see what's going on with our swatches so we can see where those things are in fact saved. So if you don't see your swatches panel, you can always find it under Window, and then you'll see it alphabetical order. There are swatches, and then my swatches now pops up here. Okay, and now I will see down in the bottom of this list is the swatch that I saved. Great, and if I want to do another color later on, okay, based off of this, I can easily get to that. I can access that no problem. So you can switch it from this back to this anytime I want. Okay, pretty cool. Save your colors. Your designers, they tell you this is the colors we're using. Save them as a swatch. Notice you can also organize your swatches. See that? You can actually put them into individual folders if you want to. Okay, let's call this Dave's XYZ project. Okay, and now let's move this inside of there. And now that lives inside of it, and it's encapsulated just like all these guys have a little folder there to keep it nice and safe and organized. Okay. You'll also notice I can move this up if I want to, and that's going to be there. So swatches are invaluable. Okay, so we've learned how we can create colors using RGB, CMYK, save our colors, also working with our hexadecimal code, and also save those just the same. Now let's talk about kind of a different degree of working with colors, and that is gradients. So let's now, I'm going to get rid of this right now, and I'm going to start over from scratch. So I'm going to dock this back up here. And now start creating something else. So let's take a look at what our other options are going to be as far as creating some type of gradients. So what is a gradient? Let's define what a gradient is first. So gradient implies that there's one color that's going to be melding into another color, and Photoshop is going to put those colors sort of in between. So you might have a color going from black all the way to white. So it's going to be this nice gradation of gray going from dark gray, less dark gray, to a little more lighter gray, all the way to white. And you can see it can create a nice little effect for things. So let's now draw out our same old square, but this time let's put in a gradient. So if you look up on top in my little control center up here, you're going to see that I have this option to fill my color. But when I click on that, you'll see I get a lot of options we have not explored. We've already taken a look at this. We've looked at our swatches. There's my trusty old swatch I just created. But now we're going to look at this little guy right here. This guy is going to allow us to then create and edit our swatches. So I click on that, and you're going to see, excuse me, not our swatches, our gradients. Okay, so you're going to see here, I now have a whole bunch of gradient options available to me. I have a bunch of preset gradients that I can work with. And you can see here, there's a whole bunch of them. Now you can see what a gradient looks like. Fantastic, good. Maybe I want that. So if I click on that, you'll notice that underneath here, all of these little options change. These are known as our gradient stops. And you can see it's going from this kind of light, pretty purple all the way to this kind of like grayish blue. Check out some of these other ones. You can see how that changes dramatically. All right, so maybe I love this and I'm ready to go. So I've chosen it. I'll just go ahead and draw it out. Great, love that, amazing. But I'm not happy with it. Okay, so I'm going to click on this and I can see how I can change it in a very different way on many, many different levels. So you can see here, I'm going from this dark purple to this light blue. Now, if I don't want that color anymore, because this was just a preset, I can very easily change it just by simply coming over here to my little stop and double clicking it. See where I am here? I'm double clicking right there, and this pops right up to my color picker. So let's just choose red just for effect. You can see, ooh, that's kind of nice. And you can see what it's doing there. Like you're kind of creating maybe a little backdrop, for, just like a sky, something like that. Maybe there's a fire, maybe there's lights happening in the background. Maybe you're just kind of creating something kind of ethereal. I love that. That's great. Now, you'll also notice that when I click on this, I get this little diamond. This diamond allows us to control where some of the red kind of begins and ends, right? You see that, how it kind of stretches out a little bit more? So I get more red this time. So I'm going to click and drag this way. This time I get less red. See, you have all that control in the world to then control how your gradient's going to be. I'm going to keep this in the middle. Let's take a look at some of our other options. I'm going to start over here on the right-hand side and look at this one. Pretty simply, all this does is reverse the gradient. I click on that, and then it just makes the red go up on top. You'll notice to the left of this is another option. It's like a little clock. It says, okay, well, which direction is this coming in? This is like a 360-degree angle here. So you can see, well, I want it to come this way now. So you can make it so it's going to rotate the gradient. Let's do that way. And then that also is another way to make it go in a different direction. So a little bit more sort of dynamic, do something like that. Okay. Now, here is something that you may want to explore for sure, where you have the different types of gradients. Right now, we're working what's known as a linear gradient. Now, if I click on this little drop down, you'll see I can change this to a radial, angle, reflected, diamond. Okay, most likely it's just going to be these two that you're going to work with more than anything. So I'm going to change this to radial, and you can see, oh, it's kind of cool. Let me switch that around. Ooh, I like that even better. Okay, so just imagine you're going to have something kind of in the center of your document and you really want to kind of spotlight it. A radial gradient can really, really go a long way. Okay, so really cool stuff, really fun. So let's just see this in action. I'm going to go back to my Iceland postcard and let me just drag this. I'll show you a nice little trick here. I'm going to drag this guy up into my tab, bring it back down, say yes, and then look at that. Now I've got a nice little feature that I can show. Hey, bam, there it is. There's my image, and I'm really kind of drawn to it, all because of gradients. Okay, so really practice that. Practice saving swatches, saving your colors, putting in different colors, talking to your designers, putting in different CMYK, RGB, and then again, saving your swatches, organizing your swatches, and then come back and start working with gradients and manipulate them as much as you need to, working with the linear gradient, working with our radial gradient, and then manipulating the diamond, and then seeing what you like, right? Just know that you have all the control in the world. And like with all of our exercises, I recommend pausing the video for a little bit, practicing till it works for you, until you feel comfortable, and then move on to the next exercise. Okay? Have fun, and we'll see you in the next activity.